The chaos began before the sun even rose, and fans are still struggling to process what has unfolded in the Rasheeda household. Rumors had been swirling quietly for weeks, whispers that something was amiss with Jasmine's baby, but nobody could have predicted the explosive revelation that would shake not only the family but the entire fanbase. Sources close to the couple claim that a shocking secret has come to light, one so unbelievable that it seems ripped straight from a reality TV nightmare. According to insiders, Jasmine's baby may have been switched at birth, leaving Kirk and Rasheeda reeling and questioning everything they thought they knew about their lives. The news spread like wildfire on social media, leaving fans in utter disbelief and flooding the comments with speculation, shock, and anger. How could something like this even happen in a world where trust and family are supposed to be everything? The very foundations of the Frost household are now under siege as the emotional stakes reach a boiling point, and the drama shows no signs of slowing down. Friends and family members have reportedly been summoned, and emotions ran high as questions of loyalty, deception, and betrayal tore through the once unshakable bonds. Every conversation turned into an interrogation, every glance into a silent accusation. "I can't believe this is happening," one family member supposedly whispered, eyes wide with panic. "How could anyone let this happen to a baby?" Meanwhile, fans are dissecting every social media post, every past interview, searching for clues that could explain this shocking turn of events. The internet is ablaze with theories, some claiming there was a hospital mix-up, others insisting on a more sinister plot. The tension is unbearable as Kirk and Rasheeda struggle to piece together the truth while keeping Jasmine's well-being in mind. And just when you think the story couldn't get any more twisted, new revelations threaten to pull the rug out from under everyone involved, leaving the family divided and the public clamoring for answers. The stakes have never been higher, and the fallout from this shocking discovery is only beginning. Fans are on edge, emotions are raw, and the question that hangs over everyone's head is simple, yet terrifying. What really happened to Jasmine's baby, and who is hiding the truth? The tension in the Frost household had reached a fever pitch. The morning air was heavy with unease, and even the sunlight streaming through the blinds seemed hesitant, as if it too feared what lay ahead. Kirk paced the living room, each step echoing like a drumbeat of anxiety. Rasheeda sat rigid on the edge of the sofa, her eyes fixed on the floor, fingers nervously twisting the hem of her top. Jasmine's baby, innocent and unaware of the storm surrounding them, slept peacefully in the crib, but the peace was fragile, a thin veneer over a growing maelstrom. Friends and family had begun to arrive, each whispering theories, each carrying their own mix of disbelief and judgment. "Are you serious? This can't be happening," one cousin murmured, glancing nervously at Kirk. Another, a longtime friend, shook their head in disbelief. "I don't know what to say, I mean, how could this even happen?" The room was thick with tension, and even the walls seemed to hum with anticipation, waiting for someone to speak, to ignite the chain reaction of emotions that had been simmering for weeks. Kirk finally stopped pacing, his hands running through his hair as he tried to focus. "I need to know the truth," he muttered under his breath, his voice trembling. Rasheeda's eyes lifted, meeting his gaze, a mixture of fear and frustration clouding her expression. "Truth? You mean the truth? We've been kept from the one they've been hiding from us since the day Jasmine gave birth." The accusation hung in the air like a dense fog. The whispers of a possible baby switch were no longer confined to rumors or speculation. They had become a tangible, suffocating reality. Jasmine, caught in the middle, felt her heart pounding as guilt and confusion collided. She had always trusted the people around her, relied on the professionals at the hospital, believed in the integrity of the system, but now every instinct screamed that something had gone horribly wrong. I don't understand," she whispered, voice barely audible, tears threatening to spill. "How could anyone switch a baby?" The questions echoed, unanswered, each one a dagger twisting deeper into the fragile sense of safety the family had once taken for granted. The arrival of additional family members only escalated the tension. Aunts and uncles, cousins and friends gathered, forming a semicircle around the central figures of the drama. Everyone had an opinion, everyone had a theory, but no one had answers. "We need to look at the hospital records," an aunt demanded, her voice sharp, commanding attention. "We need to know who was responsible, and we need to know now." The idea of confronting the hospital brought a mix of fear and determination. Some feared legal ramifications, some feared scandal. But everyone knew that without answers, the household would descend into chaos. Rasheeda stood, the chair scraping against the floor, her voice rising. We trusted them. We trusted them, with our family, with our baby, and now we're being told that everything we believed might be a lie. Emotions ran high as the room erupted in fragmented conversations. One cousin shouted, another argued back, and the cacophony of voices reflected the turmoil in every heart present. Jasmine clutched her baby closer, rocking gently, trying to shield them from the storm that threatened to engulf their fragile world. The air was thick with accusations, some directed outward, others turned inward, questioning the choices and trust that had led to this moment. It's impossible, Kirk finally said, his voice loud enough to command attention, but trembling with an edge of desperation. It can't be real. There has to be a mistake, a misunderstanding. But even as he spoke, doubt gnawed at him. Every look, every whispered conversation, every subtle gesture seemed to confirm that something had gone terribly wrong. Outside, fans and media had begun to catch wind of the unfolding drama. Social media accounts buzzed with speculation, hashtags trended, and live streams captured reactions in real. The internet became an unrelenting microscope, examining every move, every tear, every whispered word. The family's private anguish had become public spectacle. Each emotion amplified, each reaction dissected by thousands of eyes. Rasheeda, feeling the weight of scrutiny, tried to steady herself. She remembered the day Jasmine gave birth, the joy, the relief, the overwhelming sense of love and responsibility. That memory now felt tainted, corrupted by the shadow of doubt. She clenched her fists, trying to anchor herself in the only thing she could control, the truth. The search for answers began in earnest. Hospital records were requested, phone calls were made, and inquiries initiated. Every piece of information uncovered seemed to reveal more questions than answers. Conversations with nurses, doctors, and administrative staff unearthed inconsistencies, small slips in memory, conflicting reports. I don't recall any mix-up, one nurse reportedly said, her voice defensive, eyes darting as if fearing reprisal. Everything was routine. Everything was normal. But the inconsistencies could not be ignored. A misplaced fingerprint here, an overlooked procedure there. A fleeting glance exchanged between staff members all became pieces of a puzzle that no one wanted to complete. Yet no one could stop trying to solve. Kirk and Rasheeda's nights became sleepless odysseys of worry and fear. They argued, consoled, and accused each other in rapid cycles, each moment charged with the intensity of their shared crisis. We could have missed something, Rasheeda shouted one night, voice cracking. We could have trusted the wrong people. We could have. Her words faltered as she looked at the baby, heart hammering. Kirk stepped closer, placing a hand on her shoulder, his own eyes filled with torment. We did everything we could, he said softly, trying to inject calm into the chaos. But now we have to find out the truth. We have to know what really happened. Friends and neighbors weighed in, some offering support, others gossiping, fueling the fire of speculation. Every visit, every phone call seemed to carry an undercurrent of judgment. The family was left divided, each member processing the unfolding story differently. Some wanted to believe in innocence, others were convinced of betrayal. The tension escalated when a private investigator was hired. Someone promised to uncover the truth behind the alleged baby switch. This figure, quiet and methodical, entered the household, asking pointed questions, examining every detail, and soon uncovering threads that hinted at a deeper, more tangled web than anyone had anticipated. The revelations were shocking. Documents that had seemed routine took on new significance. Statements once considered benign now raised alarming questions. This doesn't make sense, the investigator murmured, reviewing a stack of files. Someone has altered records. Someone is hiding something. Rasheeda's hands trembled as she took the papers, eyes scanning the lines of text, the inconsistencies glaring in bold contrast to what she had been told. The emotional stakes had never been higher. Kirk felt the weight of responsibility pressing down on him, every decision, every action, scrutinized, not just by family and friends, but by an entire audience watching online, analyzing, and passing judgment. Jasmine, meanwhile, was caught in a whirlwind of guilt, confusion, and helplessness. She wanted answers, yes, but more than that, she wanted assurance, a return to normalcy, a restoration of trust that now felt irreparably broken. The family's unity was tested to its limits as heated arguments became commonplace. Every interaction seemed charged with suspicion. Every conversation held the potential to explode into confrontation. Old grievances resurfaced, new fears took root, and the household teetered on the brink of emotional collapse. And just when it seemed that tension had reached its peak, a shocking twist emerged. A previously overlooked hospital worker came forward with a statement that rocked the family to its core. "I remember seeing the babies swapped for a moment," they claimed, voice barely above a whisper. "I didn't think it was serious at the time, but I can't stay silent anymore." The revelation sent shockwaves through the room. Faces drained of color, hands flew to mouths, and silence fell, like a heavy curtain. The baby, unaware of the storm surrounding them, continued to sleep, innocent in a world suddenly filled with deceit, fear, and uncertainty. The emotional fallout was immediate. Rasheeda wept, her sobs echoing through the house. Kirk gripped her tightly, trying to provide comfort even as his own heart raced with panic. Jasmine held the baby closer, a protective shield against the reality threatening to unravel everything they had known. Friends, family, and even casual acquaintances struggled to process the enormity of the revelation. The situation had escalated, from a private concern to a public spectacle, with emotions amplified and stakes higher than ever before. And yet, despite the chaos, the search for truth pressed on. Questions had to be answered. Responsibility had to be determined. And most importantly, the family had to confront the reality that the life they had been living might never be the same again. The tension in the Frost household was palpable, each passing hour bringing new developments, new shocks, and new emotional turmoil. What had started as a whisper had grown into a roar, consuming everyone in its path, leaving no heart untouched, no mind at peace. Fans across social media continued to speculate, posting theories, dissecting old footage, and sharing every scrap of information they could find. The family's private agony had become a public fascination. With every tear, every shout, every whispered word magnified and replayed for the world to see. And through it all, the baby remained oblivious, a fragile symbol of innocence caught in a maelstrom of secrecy, lies, and questions. As night fell, the house was quiet, but the tension remained, an ever-present shadow over the family. Kirk and Rasheeda sat side by side, exhaustion etched into their features, eyes reflecting the turmoil within. Jasmine slept beside them, her hand resting lightly on the baby, trying to summon the strength to face whatever revelations tomorrow might bring. Outside, the world waited, watching, commenting, and judging. Inside, the family braced for the next wave, knowing that answers were coming, but dreading the truths they might uncover. The storm had only just begun, and the Frost household would never be the same. The morning after the shocking revelation arrived with a heavy silence, as if the very air in the Frost household was holding its breath. Every room seemed charged with a tense energy, and even the baby's soft coos felt intrusive against the backdrop of worry and suspicion. Kirk and Rasheeda moved through the house like two people navigating a minefield. Each step calculated, each glance laden with unspoken fears. Jasmine, still reeling from the previous day's chaos, clung tightly to the baby, her heart hammering with a mix of protective instinct and helpless confusion. "I just don't understand," she whispered to Rasheeda, her voice quivering. "How could this happen? How could anyone think it's okay to swap babies?" Rasheeda, exhausted yet alert, shook her head, eyes glistening with unshed tears. "We trusted people, Jasmine. We trusted the hospital, the nurses, everyone. And now it feels like everything we believed in has been ripped away." The weight of those words hung heavy in the room. Calls were made to the hospital, demanding explanations, clarifying timelines, and requesting access to every record that might shed light on the alleged baby switch. Staff members answered with a mix of defensiveness and bewilderment, insisting that procedures had been followed and no errors had been reported. But for Kirk and Rasheeda, no explanation was sufficient. Every hesitation, every ambiguous response felt like confirmation of a conspiracy, and emotions ran high as frustration and fear collided. Outside the household, friends and fans alike weighed in. Social media was ablaze with speculation, screenshots, and theories. Every post from the Frost family was dissected, every old video replayed, as fans searched for hidden clues. "This is unbelievable," one commenter wrote. "If true, it completely changes everything we know about their story." Another posted, "I knew something was off from the beginning. Something doesn't add up." The online frenzy only added to the household's turmoil, amplifying every doubt, every suspicion, every whispered accusation. Meanwhile, private discussions within the family escalated into heated arguments. Cousins, aunts, and friends debated, accused, and pointed fingers. With every conversation teetering on the edge of confrontation. "We can't just sit here and wait," one family member exclaimed. "We need answers, and we need them now." Rasheeda, trying to remain composed, addressed the gathering, voice strong despite the storm of emotion. "We need to focus on the facts. Let's look at the records, interview the staff, and follow every lead. We owe it to the baby, to ourselves, to get to the bottom of this." But even as she spoke, doubts gnawed at her. Every reassurance, every plan, seemed overshadowed by the enormity of the situation. The investigation intensified. Private investigators were enlisted to comb through hospital records, speak with staff, and retrace every step of the birth process. Questions that had seemed trivial before now became pivotal, and every piece of information uncovered deepened the mystery rather than resolving it. One nurse recalled a momentary mix-up in the nursery, a brief lapse in protocol that at the time seemed inconsequential. Another staff member remembered seeing two babies in close proximity, confusion reigniting long-buried concerns. Each revelation sent shockwaves through the family. Kirk, pacing in the study, ran his hands through his hair in exasperation. "I can't believe this is happening," he muttered. "Everything we've built, every moment we've cherished, now seems like it could be a lie." Rasheeda, standing near the window, gazed outside, her mind racing with questions and fears. "It's not just about us," she whispered. "It's about the baby. About what they deserve. About the life that's been disrupted before it even began." Jasmine, overwhelmed by the weight of responsibility and uncertainty, began to break down. Friends and family rallied around her, offering comfort, yet each gesture carried an undercurrent of fear and tension. "We have to stay strong," Rasheeda said softly, holding Jasmine's hands. "We will find the truth, no matter how painful it is." But even as they spoke, another twist emerged. A former employee, previously thought irrelevant, came forward with an account that suggested the baby switch might not have been accidental at all. Their statements hinted at deliberate actions, a chain of decisions and errors, or perhaps intentional deception that had led to the current chaos. The implications were staggering, and the room seemed to shrink under the weight of suspicion and revelation. Accusations began to fly more freely, alliances formed and fractured, and the household atmosphere became increasingly volatile. "Why would anyone do this?" Kirk demanded, voice edged with desperation and anger. "Who would risk so much for what reason?" The investigator, calm but firm, addressed the family, laying out the facts as they had been uncovered so far. "I understand this is difficult," they said, "but we are piecing together a timeline. Every anomaly, every inconsistency, is part of a pattern. We need patience, and we need cooperation." Yet patience was in short supply. Family members argued over interpretations, questioned motives, and wrestled with the emotional fallout. The stress reached a tipping point during a particularly tense evening gathering. Voices were raised, tears shed, and for a moment, it seemed the family might fracture irreparably under the weight of fear, suspicion, and anger. Amidst the turmoil, moments of tenderness surfaced. Kirk gently soothed the baby during a particularly loud outburst, his voice steady despite the turmoil surrounding him. Rasheeda sat close, offering quiet reassurances, her own eyes reflecting both exhaustion and determination. Jasmine, seeking solace, leaned into them, finding strength in the shared resolve to uncover the truth. The night stretched long, filled with conversations, arguments, and quiet reflections. Outside, the world continued to watch, reacting in real time to every revelation, every tear, every shouted word. Fans debated endlessly, offering their own theories and solutions, while the family navigated the storm within the confines of their home. As dawn approached, the private investigator returned with new information that would shift the entire narrative once again. The hospital's internal logs revealed previously hidden entries, subtle notes that suggested confusion in the nursery. That night, moments when oversight could have easily led to a switch. "This could explain the discrepancies," the investigator explained. "But it also raises new questions about responsibility and accountability." Kirk's jaw tightened, and Rasheeda's hands trembled as she processed the new details. Jasmine clutched the baby closer, heart racing, mind spinning with fear, anger, and uncertainty. The revelation set off another round of heated discussions, accusations, and defensive explanations. Every family member grappled with their emotions, trying to balance love, trust, and outrage. Outside the walls of the Frost household, social media continued to explode. Fans dissected every nuance, every statement, every social media post, and every public appearance. The narrative spread rapidly, with each new detail fueling speculation and drama. "This is unreal," one fan wrote. "If the baby really was switched, everything changes. Who can we trust anymore?" Another posted, "I feel so sorry for them. Imagine finding out your life has been built on a lie." Within the home, the emotional tension remained at a fever pitch. Kirk and Rasheeda held private discussions, weighing the implications of every discovery, considering every possible outcome. Jasmine struggled with guilt and helplessness, desperate to protect her child from the chaos consuming the adults around her. The household was divided, yet strangely unified by a single, unrelenting goal: to uncover the truth, no matter how painful or devastating it might be. As the day wore on, further revelations emerged, painting an even more complex picture of the events surrounding the baby's birth. Former staff members corroborated details, adding layers of intrigue and confusion. Documents were cross-referenced, phone logs examined, and memories recounted, each new piece adding to the puzzle, each discovery deepening the emotional impact. Kirk and Rasheeda alternated between moments of despair and bursts of determination, their relationship tested by the relentless strain of uncertainty and fear. Jasmine, caught between them and the storm of family and media attention, struggled to maintain composure, to protect her baby, and to find clarity in a situation that defied understanding. As evening fell, the Frost household remained a crucible of emotion, suspicion, and unresolved questions. The baby slept, oblivious to the chaos, while the adults navigated a maze of fear, anger, and determination. Every conversation, every glance, every whispered word carried weight, significance, and the potential for revelation or confrontation. The first part of the investigation had revealed shocking inconsistencies, emotional fractures, and a web of questions that seemed to grow more tangled by the hour. The family, exhausted but resolute, prepared for the next stage, knowing that further twists, surprises, and heartbreak awaited them in the unfolding saga of Jasmine's alleged baby switch. The revelations from the first round of investigation set the stage for an even more turbulent period in the Frost household. Dawn had barely broken, yet the air inside the home was already thick with tension, fear, and anticipation. Kirk, pacing the length of the living room, could barely contain the swirl of emotions within him. Each step was accompanied by a silent plea for clarity, a desperate wish that the answers they sought would be simple and straightforward. Rasheeda, seated near the baby's crib, maintained a rigid composure. Yet the taut lines around her eyes betrayed her inner turmoil. She had spent countless sleepless hours replaying the events of Jasmine's baby's birth in her mind, searching for any clue that might illuminate the truth. "We have to get the DNA tests done immediately," Rasheeda insisted, voice steady, but firm. "There's no other way to confirm what's real and what isn't." Jasmine, clutching her baby protectively, nodded in agreement. Her heart pounded as the enormity of the situation settled on her shoulders. The very foundation of her world had been shaken, and the fear of an unknown reality threatened to overwhelm her. Phone calls flew back and forth between the family and medical professionals. Lawyers were consulted, investigators questioned, and staff members re-interviewed. Each exchange bringing new details, but rarely resolving the fundamental question: had a switch truly occurred? "We need absolute transparency," Kirk demanded, voice tight with urgency. "Everything. Every report, every log, every interaction from the night of the birth." As the investigation deepened, emotional tensions escalated. Family members began taking sides, sometimes openly arguing in the presence of the baby. Allegiances shifted rapidly, driven by fear, loyalty, and a desperate desire to protect their loved ones. Rasheeda's voice often rose above the din, calling for calm, yet even she struggled to maintain authority over the storm of accusations and fears. Among the staff, whispers of negligence or worse began to circulate. Some former employees revealed moments of carelessness or lapses in judgment that, while minor at the time, now seemed potentially catastrophic. Each recollection brought new layers of complexity, forcing the family to confront a reality far more convoluted than they could have imagined. Meanwhile, the social media frenzy intensified. Fans dissected every word, analyzed every clip, and speculated endlessly. The hashtag #JASMINES baby switch trended across multiple platforms, while videos and posts proliferated, each claiming to reveal hidden truths or expose conspiracies. Comments ranged from sympathetic to accusatory. "I can't imagine being in their shoes," one user wrote. "How do you even process something like this?" Another stated, "There's definitely more to the story than we know. Someone is hiding something." Within the house, arguments became more heated as details emerged from the investigation. A misfiled report here, a misremembered protocol there. Every discrepancy fueled suspicion and fear. Friends and relatives who had once offered calm support now questioned decisions, motives, and integrity. "How could anyone let this happen?" an uncle demanded, voice trembling with outrage. "We trusted people with our most precious lives, and now it feels like that trust has been shattered." As the day progressed, a breakthrough came. DNA test results, initially delayed due to administrative errors, finally arrived. The room was silent as Kirk, Rasheeda, and Jasmine huddled around the documents, hearts racing in unison. Each piece of information seemed to bring both relief and further confusion. The results confirmed some of their deepest fears, yet introduced questions that had never before crossed their minds. It's complicated," the investigator explained, careful with their wording. "The baby's genetic profile suggests anomalies that could indicate a switch. But there are also other factors we need to consider. Nothing is as straightforward as we hoped." Shock and disbelief rippled through the room. Rasheeda sank into the nearest chair, pressing her face into her hands. Kirk paced again, muttering fragments of thought to himself, trying to process the unexpected complexities of the results. Jasmine, holding her baby close, felt a swirl of emotions, relief that tests were underway, terror that the answers might confirm the worst, and a profound sadness for the innocence of the child caught in the middle of adult confusion and intrigue. Additional interviews with hospital staff unearthed further complications. Some employees contradicted earlier statements, while others admitted to minor oversights that, when combined, painted a picture of chaos and human error. The family struggled to reconcile these conflicting accounts, feeling trapped between hope and fear. As night fell, the emotional toll became apparent. Kirk and Rasheeda shared a quiet moment away from the prying eyes of relatives and media, the weight of uncertainty pressing heavily on both. "We have to stay united," Kirk whispered, taking Rasheeda's hand. "No matter what the truth is, we face it together." Rasheeda nodded, eyes glistening, silently acknowledging the fragility of their world and the necessity of solidarity. Meanwhile, Jasmine struggled with her own emotional storm. She feared the judgment of others, the potential betrayal by trusted individuals, and most of all, the possibility that her baby had been unknowingly endangered. Yet, even in her despair, she clung to hope, determined to navigate the treacherous waters of revelation and come through the other side stronger. Over the next several days, the investigation intensified. Each new lead, each additional interview, and each discovery created ripple effects that reverberated through the household. Family dynamics shifted in unpredictable ways, alliances strengthened and weakened, and the fragile sense of normalcy disintegrated further with every revelation. Kirk and Rasheeda took on the role of mediators, attempting to maintain calm amidst the storm while simultaneously grappling with their own fears and doubts. The baby, blissfully unaware, became the central point around which all actions, decisions, and emotions revolved. Friends and extended family tried to provide support, yet even their presence sometimes exacerbated tensions. Every word, every gesture, was scrutinized for meaning, motive, and truth. Emotional outbursts became common, ranging from tears to raised voices, and moments of reconciliation were fleeting. Through it all, the private investigator worked methodically, piecing together timelines, cross-referencing statements, and examining medical records with meticulous care. Slowly, patterns began to emerge, pointing toward a combination of error, miscommunication, and human oversight. Yet the shadow of suspicion lingered. Late one evening, a startling confession emerged from a former hospital staff member, someone previously considered uninvolved. Their account suggested that a critical error during the neonatal handoff could have resulted in a temporary switch, with consequences that had gone unnoticed for days. "I didn't think it would matter," the former employee said, voice tight with remorse. "I didn't think anyone would notice. But now I see how serious it was." The revelation reignited the emotional tempest in the household. Tears flowed freely, anger erupted once more, and debates over responsibility, guilt, and consequence filled the rooms. Kirk, Rasheeda, and Jasmine were forced to confront the reality that, regardless of intention, the baby's safety had been compromised, and trust had been broken. Social media erupted anew. Fans and commentators dissected the confession, speculated on motives, and debated the plausibility of the claim. The story took on a life of its own, extending beyond the Frost household to capture the attention of viewers worldwide. "This is unreal," one user wrote. "It's like a drama series unfolding in real life." The emotional stakes in the household remained extraordinarily high. Kirk and Rasheeda struggled to maintain equilibrium, balancing the need for action with the need for calm, while Jasmine navigated the intersection of fear, guilt, and fierce maternal protectiveness. As the night deepened, plans were made to meet with hospital administrators, review all remaining records, and ensure that no detail, however small, was overlooked. Every phone call, every email, every discussion carried weight, and every decision had the potential to shift the course of the unfolding drama. The atmosphere was tense, almost palpable, as the family prepared for the next stage of discovery. Every member understood that the coming days could bring clarity, heartbreak, or further complication, and yet all were committed to pursuing the truth. The house was quiet now, but the tension lingered like a low hum, an ever-present reminder that the storm was far from over. Kirk, Rasheeda, and Jasmine sat together in the living room, the baby nestled between them, their collective gaze distant, yet focused. They knew the path ahead would be arduous, filled with revelations that could either heal or further fracture the bonds that tied them together. As the second part of the investigation approached, the Frost household braced for what would inevitably be another wave of emotional upheaval, unforeseen twists, and dramatic confrontations, knowing that the story of Jasmine's baby switch was far from complete. The next morning brought with it a new level of urgency. The Frost household had barely recovered from the previous wave of revelations, yet the demands for clarity and accountability intensified. Kirk and Rasheeda moved with purposeful energy, determined to uncover every detail and leave no stone unturned. The baby, blissfully unaware of the storm swirling around them, continued to sleep, a fragile emblem of innocence amidst chaos. Jasmine, still grappling with the emotional weight of the potential switch, clutched the child tightly, her mind racing with fears, doubts, and unspoken questions. "We have to keep pushing," Kirk said, his voice edged with both determination and exhaustion. "We can't let this go unresolved. Too much is at stake." Rasheeda nodded in solemn agreement. "We owe it to the baby, and to ourselves, to know the truth. We have to be thorough, even if it's painful." The family convened in the living room, where papers, medical records, and timelines sprawled across every available surface. Every member took on a role in the unfolding investigation, poring over files, scrutinizing statements, and comparing recollections of the night in question. The emotional intensity in the room was almost tangible. Accusations flared and were swiftly countered with defensive explanations, creating a constant ebb and flow of tension that left every participant on edge. Jasmine, sensing the strain, whispered to Rasheeda, "I feel like everyone's eyes are on me. Like they're judging me for something I didn't even do." Rasheeda offered a reassuring squeeze of her hand. "We're all searching for answers. Jasmine, you're not alone in this, and none of this changes how much we love you or the baby." Outside the house, the social media frenzy continued to escalate. Fans, celebrities, and commentators debated endlessly, analyzing every post, every video, every snippet of information for hidden clues. Hashtags trended across multiple platforms, drawing in thousands of comments, theories, and heated debates. "If this is true, it's unbelievable," one fan wrote. "How could such a mistake even happen in a hospital?" Another commented, "There has to be more to the story. Someone's hiding something." Meanwhile, the private investigator made significant progress. After cross-referencing hospital logs, interviewing staff members, and reviewing procedural protocols, patterns began to emerge that suggested a combination of human error and possible oversight. Some employees had inadvertently switched paperwork, others had failed to follow proper identification protocols, and a few critical moments of negligence now appeared to have far-reaching consequences. "It's a chain of small mistakes," the investigator explained to Kirk and Rasheeda. Individually, they might have seemed minor, but collectively, they could explain how a switch could have occurred. Kirk's frustration was palpable. "A chain of mistakes," he exclaimed. "That's terrifying. Someone's negligence could have changed a child's life forever." Rasheeda, absorbing the gravity of the explanation, felt a mix of anger, fear, and despair. "We trusted them with our family," she said quietly, "and now everything is in question." Jasmine, holding the baby closer, felt a surge of maternal protectiveness. Every revelation, every hint of error or oversight, only heightened her determination to safeguard her child. The emotional landscape of the household shifted with each new disclosure. Family members, previously united by love and concern, began to fracture under the strain of suspicion, blame, and fear. Old grievances resurfaced, while new tensions emerged, leaving the household in a state of precarious instability. Heated conversations became routine, with arguments erupting over interpretations of documents, recollections of events, and the implications of the latest discoveries. Amidst the turmoil, moments of tenderness and solidarity surfaced, brief respites that reminded everyone of the deep bonds at the core of the family. Kirk comforted Jasmine during particularly emotional moments, his voice steady despite the chaos. Rasheeda offered words of reassurance, her calm presence a counterbalance to the storm of questions and accusations. Yet even these fleeting moments of peace were punctuated by tension, as the reality of the situation loomed large. The next major breakthrough came when an anonymous tip was received, allegedly from a former hospital employee. The tip suggested that the switch, if it occurred, might have been deliberate, rather than accidental. The notion of intentional deception sent shockwaves through the household, intensifying emotions and raising new questions about motives, responsibility, and trust. Deliberate. Kirk's voice rose, filled with disbelief and anger. Someone could have done this on purpose? Who would risk everything like that? Rasheeda's hands trembled slightly as she absorbed the news. We have to consider every possibility now, she said, trying to steady her voice. Even if it's painful or terrifying, we need to know the truth. Jasmine, heart pounding, whispered, I just want my baby to be safe, to be loved, and to know the truth too. The anonymous tip prompted a deeper, more thorough investigation. Interviews were conducted with former employees, procedural lapses were re-examined, and every detail of the birth and nursery process was scrutinized. The investigator uncovered discrepancies that had been previously overlooked, raising the possibility of intentional negligence or misconduct. Family tensions escalated as the gravity of the situation became increasingly clear. Discussions, once focused on procedural errors and potential accidents, now centered on accountability, morality, and potential repercussions. Emotions ran high, tears were shed, and arguments erupted over the smallest inconsistencies. The social media frenzy mirrored the household's chaos. Fans and followers analyzed every new detail, speculating endlessly about who might be responsible, what had really occurred, and how the baby's life had been affected. I can't believe this is happening, one commenter wrote. It's like watching a real-life drama series unfold. Another added, this family has been through so much. I hope they can find the truth soon. Meanwhile, the baby remained blissfully unaware, a small presence of calm amidst the turbulence. Kirk and Rasheeda, recognizing the child's vulnerability, redoubled their efforts to maintain a sense of stability and protection. Jasmine, exhausted, yet vigilant, remained focused on shielding her child from the emotional storm surrounding them. Late in the week, the private investigator presented a comprehensive report to the family. The findings were complex, suggesting a mixture of accidental errors, procedural lapses, and potential intentional missteps. It's not definitive, the investigator explained, but the evidence points to a scenario where a switch could have occurred, whether by mistake or design. There are still gaps we cannot fill without further corroboration. Kirk ran his hands through his hair in frustration. Gaps. This is a nightmare. How do we not know the full truth yet? Rasheeda, voice tinged with both exhaustion and determination, responded, we keep pressing. We follow every lead. We cannot stop until we are certain of what happened. Jasmine, clutching the baby, added quietly, I just hope whoever is responsible realizes the harm they've caused, and that my baby is okay. The emotional intensity of the household reached new heights. Arguments, tearful confrontations, and moments of profound fear became routine. Family members struggled to balance their desire for answers with the overwhelming weight of uncertainty. The baby's innocence stood in stark contrast to the chaos, a reminder of the stakes involved and the consequences of unresolved questions. By the end of the week, the household had developed a rhythm of investigation, confrontation, and tentative reconciliation. Each day brought new discoveries, heightened emotions, and deeper understanding of the complexities surrounding Jasmine's baby. Kirk, Rasheeda, and Jasmine found themselves navigating a labyrinth of fear, suspicion, and hope, determined to uncover the truth while protecting their family and the child at the center of the drama. Yet the story was far from over. New evidence, unforeseen twists, and dramatic confrontations awaited, promising that the path to clarity would be as emotional, intense, and unpredictable as the events that had already transpired. As the third phase of the investigation loomed, the Frost household braced for more revelations, knowing that every discovery could shift alliances, redefine trust, and reshape the very fabric of their family. The tension, suspense, and emotional stakes had never been higher, and every member of the family understood that the journey toward truth was only beginning. The fourth day of the investigation brought an almost unbearable tension to the Frost household. Kirk Rasheeda and Jasmine had reached a point where every moment was charged with anticipation, every glance heavy with unspoken questions. The baby, innocent and unaware, remained the quiet eye in the center of the emotional hurricane swirling around them. The private investigator returned with additional records, newly obtained footage from hospital security cameras, and testimony from former staff members who had previously remained silent. Each piece of evidence seemed to deepen the mystery rather than resolve it, introducing questions that left the family teetering between hope and despair. "Look at this," the investigator said, pointing to a time-stamped video showing a brief mix-up in the nursery. "It's only a few minutes, but it's significant. We see two babies being handled simultaneously, and the handoffs weren't properly documented. This could explain the anomalies we've found." Kirk's jaw tightened, and his hands clenched into fists. A few minutes. That's all it takes to change everything. To ruin lives. Rasheeda, standing beside him, felt tears prick her eyes. "It's terrifying to think that something so small could have such a huge impact," she murmured. Jasmine, holding her child close, whispered, "I can't stop thinking about what could have happened, about the life my baby was almost living." The household dynamics grew increasingly strained as family members debated the implications of the new evidence. Old resentments surfaced, new alliances formed, and accusations flew with every conversation. Some relatives suggested negligence, others hinted at deliberate actions, and a few questioned whether the entire hospital system could be trusted. Amidst the turmoil, moments of tenderness continued to emerge. Kirk held Jasmine and the baby close during moments of heightened emotion, whispering reassurances even as his own heart raced with fear and anger. Rasheeda, determined to remain composed, offered calm guidance and comfort, attempting to anchor the family against the relentless waves of uncertainty. As the investigation progressed, additional revelations emerged from previously overlooked hospital logs. Shift changes, misplaced identification bands, and inconsistencies in record-keeping painted a picture of systemic disarray that could have easily led to the alleged switch. Each detail added weight to the family's growing anxiety, yet also provided potential explanations that might absolve any intentional wrongdoing. Social media, as ever, exploded with speculation and drama. Fans dissected every new detail, offered theories, and reacted to each development with heightened intensity. "This is like a real-life soap opera," one commenter posted. "I can't believe the twists keep coming." Another added, "Imagine finding out your baby might not be yours. It's heartbreaking." Despite the external chaos, the family remained focused on uncovering the truth. Private meetings, interviews, and document reviews stretched into the late hours, with Kirk and Rasheeda leading the charge, determined to ensure that every stone was overturned, every question asked, and every possibility explored. Jasmine, emotionally drained yet resolute, refused to leave her child's side, fearing that any absence could jeopardize their safety or well-being. A pivotal breakthrough occurred when the investigator cross-referenced multiple data points from hospital logs, interviews, and the new video footage. Patterns emerged, suggesting that, while a switch could have occurred due to human error, there was no definitive evidence of malicious intent. The family, grappling with relief and lingering fear, absorbed the findings with a mixture of exhaustion and tentative hope. "So it might have been a mistake, but not deliberate?" Kirk asked, voice wavering with uncertainty. Rasheeda nodded. "Slowly it appears that way, but the consequences are still real. We can't ignore what happened, even if it wasn't intentional." Jasmine, holding the baby tightly, allowed herself a brief moment of relief. "At least we know the baby is safe," she murmured, "and that gives me some peace." The days that followed focused on reconciliation, clarification, and rebuilding trust. Family discussions shifted from blame to understanding, as members processed the emotional impact of the investigation and the near catastrophe that had been avoided. Kirk and Rasheeda worked tirelessly to maintain a sense of stability, balancing the need for action with the importance of emotional support. Friends and extended family, once sources of tension, became pillars of support, helping to soothe frayed nerves and provide guidance in navigating the aftermath of the crisis. Social media reactions began to evolve as well. Fans, initially caught up in the drama, expressed relief that the situation was being clarified, while continuing to speculate about the details. Many offered support, sympathy, and encouragement, reinforcing the family's sense of community despite the chaos. In the home, the baby continued to serve as a symbol of innocence and hope, drawing the family together even amidst lingering tensions. Kirk, Rasheeda, and Jasmine found strength in their shared commitment to protect and nurture the child, their focus shifting from fear of the unknown to care for the present and the future. As the investigation drew toward a close, the Frost household experienced a delicate balance of relief and lingering anxiety. While many questions had been answered, the emotional scars remained, serving as a reminder of the fragility of trust, the consequences of human error, and the resilience required to navigate such an intense ordeal. By the end of the fourth segment of the investigation, the family had confronted the worst possibilities, endured emotional upheaval, and begun the slow process of healing. Yet the story of Jasmine's baby, the alleged switch, and the ensuing drama left an indelible mark, a narrative that would continue to ripple through their lives, their relationships, and the public eye. The fourth phase concluded with cautious optimism, tempered by the recognition that while answers had been uncovered, the emotional journey was far from over. The Frosts understood that trust, once shaken, takes time to rebuild, and that even with clarity, the shadow of doubt can linger. The household, though weary, remained united in their commitment to protect their family, navigate the complexities of human error, and face whatever challenges the unfolding story might present next. ChatGPT said, and there you have it, the whirlwind of emotions, the shocking twists, and the heart-stopping moments that have rocked Kirk, Rasheeda, and Jasmine to their core. This story has left us all asking, was it a simple mistake, or something more? How will the family heal after such a devastating revelation? What consequences will unfold in the days to come? Now it's your turn. Share your thoughts in the comments below. What do you think really happened? Could a baby really be switched without anyone noticing? Or is there a deeper secret still hidden? Don't forget to hit that like button if you were shocked by this drama, and subscribe to stay up to date with every explosive update in this saga. Your opinion matters, and we want to hear it, so join the conversation now, and let your voice be part of the story.